You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan, Larck on Twitter, here to talk to you all day about Auburn football because spring practice is officially underway. I mean, I think it's like OTA-esque is what Hugh Freeze said it would be for this week. It is spring break, so of course that does mean talk about a little bit of Pro Day as well, because Pro Day was yesterday. Some Tigers who were not invited to the Combine, giving opportunities to show off what they can do for potential NFL scouts and people who, make the decisions. But before we get into a Pro Day, I want to talk about some position battles that I think can make spring practice very, very interesting. And of course, one of them is very easy, but of course I'm going to save it to the end because it's the one everyone wants to talk about. Regardless, I do want to start off with a right tackle position. Now, you got Xavier Chaplin coming in out of NC State. You got your left tackle out of the way. Right tackle is the position that you got to look for in this offensive line. I feel like your guards and I feel like your center pretty set in stone right there. Jeremiah Wright, Dylan Wade, Connor Lew in the middle, Xavier Chaplin on the left. Right tackle, though, I think you can put in anybody. Xavier Miller, returning starter from last year. Tyler Johnson also got his fair shot last year as well, kind of switching in and out. And then, of course, you go out and get a portal guy from USC and Mason Murphy. Now, Auburn did have some offensive line struggles last year, and I think Chaplin probably could end up being a better pickup if the offensive line works out than Eric Singleton was, because of how important it is for Auburn to have an offensive line that acts coherent together and not just breaking apart every so often. Because that seems to be the issue of what Auburn had to deal with last year, or, just one of the many that there was. I think right tackle would really cement this offensive line into being one of the SEC's top units. I'm not going to say like top 5 or whatever, but I definitely think this could be a unit that you could see being most improved at the very end based on the guys that were picked up. I don't think there's a drop-off point out of any of these guys. I think you saw a lot of bright spots out of Xavier Miller, very athletic guy who, just has to hone in on his athletic skills and really, stop the penalties. Tyler Johnson is your younger option here. He's a sophomore. I think that, developmental-wise, he could offer a great opportunity for him. And then, of course, Mason Murphy is, alongside Xavier Miller, one of your more veteran guys. So if you want a veteran-laden offensive line, I think you either go with Xavier Miller or you go with Mason Murphy. But I don't think there's a wrong option in either of these guys. It's just whoever does well at spring gets the job. But Auburn's offensive line has been constantly rotating in and out, trying to fit people in, get people rest. So either way, you're going to see all three of these guys play. It's all about who's going to get that starting nod when we get to 8A or, when you get to Baylor on Friday, August 29th of this season. Up next for what I think could be an interesting battle for Auburn, going to switch it over to the defense for a little bit. Cornerback 2, Radon Strader and Kyan Lee. So, Jay Crawford, I think, pretty much cements himself as DB1 going into this year. He had a phenomenal season last year as a true freshman. I think it's pretty much set in stone he might be the starter. I don't know that for a fact. I'm not a coach on the team, but from how good he was last year, it's hard to see that not happening. And you go out in the portal and you get Radon Strader from Miami, Ohio, a defensive player of the year in the MAC, and a guy who was a freshman All-American, was like a very, very solid player. I say solid. He was very, very good at Miami, Ohio. Transferring into the SEC, though, it does offer opportunities to see if he could get the starting nod over Kyan Lee. Now, Auburn's defense, again, I like the offensive line, constantly rotating guys in and outside. DJ Durkin works with his defense is a constant array of different guys going in and out. And a good thing about getting Radon is if you have 2 outside corners, you don't have a drop-off when Radon comes in. I think Crawford and Kyan, or Crawford and Strader, or Strader and Lee, I think you get a great mix no matter what that is. It's the guys after that could leave a lot to be desired, depending on how these guys kind of develop going forward. But I think Auburn has a very solid group of young secondary players. But it would be very interesting who gets the starting job. I don't think neither one of these two guys are going to be your nickel guy. They're not going to be the guys you put on the slot receiver. I don't think they would be bad at it, but I do think Champ Anthony has definitely shined in that opportunity, and you could see some of the safeties kind of move down and play that role as well. But again, I mean, I don't think the battles really completely matter defensively. Because I mean, one of the big memes from last year was the first depth chart that came out, and it was you had like 2 or 3 oars on the offensive side, and on the defensive side, it had every single player on scholarship listed, and it was like defensive tackle could be this guy or this guy or this guy or this guy or this guy. And I went named like 5 guys. So yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting either way. I just think that Auburn also doesn't have a drop-off point. If you have Radon starting at that outside corner position, up next is Kyan Lee, and I don't think you're dropping off in talent or skill or anything along those lines. I think Auburn has cemented a great unit defensively that I think you can be very, very, very happy with in 2025. Of course, DJ Durkin was a guy, first year, turned Auburn's defense completely around, turned into one of the best units in the SEC. Almost lost him to I don't think almost lost him to Ohio State. Ohio State tried to poach DJ Durkin from Auburn, but Auburn answered back, made him the highest paid coordinator in the country, and probably pay off for Auburn in the future. Up next, wide receiver 2. Now, wide receiver 1, I think is pretty much cemented in stone. Kind of like how left tackle is, or kind of how cornerback 1 is. In my opinion, I think Cam Coleman is your wide receiver 1. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Cam Coleman is your number 1 wide receiver. I think your slot guy, I mean, you could put one of these guys in there, but I think you're looking at Malcolm Simmons is going to get a lot of opportunities in the slot. Wide receiver 2, Eric Singleton Jr., Perry Thompson, or Horatio Fields. I think that's who you're looking at to see who you're going to put on the other outside spot. Now, again, this kind of goes back to the corner conversation. I don't think you get a drop-off no matter who you put in. Eric Singleton, more of your route running, faster wide receiver that you probably could play in the slot role here, but I think he could get opportunities in the outside to start with. Perry Thompson, a fast plays the same as a Cam Coleman, just a little bit bulkier, and very talented. Again, fast, great hands, and would love to see how he develops as a route runner. Was not given a lot of routes to run last year. Neither was a lot of the wide receivers. There was a lot of streaks and posts and corners and zigs. It was about it. And then Horatio Fields from Wake Forest, another one of the transfers out on this list. Coming out of Wake Forest, definitely was your go up and get it guy. When Wake Forest needed 5 to 7 to 8 yards, what they would do is they put Horatio on a little out route, a little curl route. He would run it, and he would catch the ball. That was what he was known for. So if Auburn wanted a for sure catcher of the ball, Horatio Fields would be your guy there. I think he's the least likely of the 3 here. I think Horatio would be a great guy to put in after another guy, probably after a Cam or after whoever gets in on this. If you move Eric to the slot, I mean, you put Perry on the outside, and then you have Malcolm Simmons and Horatio to put wherever you want. And also, you got to mix in Bryce Kane. You can add any of these freshman guys that are coming in, Derek and Eric Smith or Sam Turner. I think you have a great unit of wide receivers that I think you could argue is one of the best in the SEC, just strictly because of potential and talent alone that they have from the freshmen coming in to the sophomores to the transfers that you brought in. I think wide receiver 2 is an interesting spot here, though. If you put Eric Singleton in the slot, I think you got to start Perry Thompson at the outside, and you have a great unit right there. And then you can just do whatever you want with Malcolm Simmons. He's going to be your end round. He's going to be your trick play guy. He's going to be your slot. He's going to be your outside. He's going to be your X, your Y, your Z, your G, however you want to put it. Put him at H. Put him wherever. Malcolm Simmons is a gadget guy, and then Horatio is just going to be, it's third and 5, third and short. We just need someone who can catch the ball, and we don't know what the tight ends are going to look like, but I do know that Horatio Fields is a for sure catcher of the football. So very interesting position battle there. Again, it's Cam Coleman at 1, and then you got to fill the spots out. And I don't think there's a wrong answer for how you do that. It's only wrong answer if your offense is not working correctly. So keeping it offense here, going to the position next to the position everyone's excited about. The running back position. I think that this is a battle and a half. I don't think that this job is given completely to Damari Alston. I think Darrell Robinson coming in from UConn definitely offers a lot on the team. And of course, I didn't throw him on here, but Jeremiah Cobb also has every opportunity to go in and get a lot of starting reps here. So when you look at last year, I mean, you had Jarquez Hunter who got the bulk of the carries. It's been the past few years, and before that, Tank Bigsby got the bulk of the carries, and Jarquez kind of got a few. But Quez was always going to be that number one option after Tank left. And Damari has had moments where he has shined, and he's just not been that number one guy yet. And of course, spring the opportunity to prove that he has the experience, and not only on the roster but in the playbook. It's the same playbook as last year, so it gives him that edge to get the starting nod over Darrell Robinson. But I think with Darrell being a younger, more talented option, I don't think you can just ignore Darrell Robinson here. And Jeremiah Cobb being the faster guy, if you want to do more outside the box runs, you could use him too. I think it's going to be a stable of backs, but of course there is always going to be that one workhorse guy. And I think when you talk about workhorse, I think you're looking at Darrell Robinson, Damari Alston here. So Damari, again, I love Damari. He's one of the hardest working guys on the team, one of the highest energy guys on the team. Definitely a glue guy. But with Darrell coming in, it does offer a special moment for Auburn to kind of see what their offense will look like if there's not the guy. I think Darrell offers that opportunity for Auburn. Is if you have three guys that you could use however which way you want to, maybe you just have equal carries across the board. Or you have equal carries amongst these two and Darrell and Damari, and then Jeremiah gets in and he's just going to be your I don't want to say like your trick play guy, but a guy you can trust to get on the outside and take a cut and go. So, I mean, Darrell has the skills to meet here. I mean, I think he's more athletic and agile than Damari is. Damari definitely going to be a guy who seeks contact at times. But Darrell much more agile, and he is really good. But I think you can't go wrong with that position battle either. Now, before we get into the big talking point here, I do want to mention some honorable mentions right before we get to that point. Edge rusher and defensive tackle. Now, based on how the coach has been talking about this, it does seem like D-tackle wise, Bobby Jamison Travis has been like the talking point of the D-tackles. So I do think he'll get that first spot. I do think Blake Blockton fills up that other spot because I think he's just an absolute dog, and I can't wait to see him and Blake Gotcher next to each other on the defensive line. I think it's going to be an absolute terror for offensive line. But I mean, it kind of just sees who you're going to put next to Bobby there. And I know his name's Quantrell, but he's been calling Bobby all off season long, and I'm not going to be mad about saying Bobby on the defensive line. So it'll be very interesting to see who plays next to him this season. And the edge rusher, of course, you have Keldrick Falk on the defensive end side, and you have to have someone who can help take off the double teams from Keldrick. So looking at that side, I mean, I assume it's Kieron Crawford on that side. But when you talk about who Auburn got out of the portal, I mean, there's guys like Chris Murray. You brought a guy back from the portal in Amaris Williams, who you probably could see him play at this role as well. I mean, he's a D end, and he'll probably he won't share the load with Keldrick, but he'll definitely get in on both sides. I mean, Jamonta Waller took his redshirt year last year. Probably could see him in this spot as well. And of course, you can't forget about guys like Jacaleb Falk or and I'm blanking on Jared Smith. There we go. And so you have all these guys you can put in and mix in these spots. And of course, in the defense, it's the same conversation as always. Like, I don't think that there's a wrong answer in some of these positions, especially because I almost put linebacker on here because I think it's DeMarcus Riddick, and then you fill out the spot there. But I mean, I think with guys like Xavier Atkins coming in from the portal, it's just a few guys from last year who took that red shirt. I think that you have a lot of good options at linebacker here, a lot of athletic guys. Joe Phillips, I mean, DJ Barber, who both are going to be able to play this year. you had of course the guys on the portal as well. I think that linebacker is going to be very interesting to see, but I can't lie, I'm super stoked to see what DeMarcus Riddick does in year 2. And of course, edge rusher. The defensive line is just going to, it's as far as I am aware right now, it's Keldrick, then Bobby, and then you're going to have a lot of guys in the mix for those 2 other positions on the defensive line. So with that, going to go to the last battle here. Of course, everyone already knows what the big battle is of the offseason. It's, of course, the quarterback position. Deuce Knight versus Jackson Arnold. Ashton Daniels will not be on campus until the summer. So until that point, you only got 2 scholarship quarterbacks on your roster right now, which means that's a lot of reps to split across 2 guys, which means by the end of spring, you should have an idea of who your starting quarterback is. Of course, the favorite's Jackson Arnold. I think it's Jackson Arnold's job to lose. That's what the NIL money is for. That's what, heavily recruiting someone out of the portal does. It basically just says, hey, this is your spot to lose. You have to play yourself into this spot as quarterback 1. You want to run this offense? We want you to run this offense, but we cannot ignore the fact that we have a guy who has all the talent in the world right behind you, who, if he plays better than you, it's his job too, or it's his job and not yours. I think, again, from all I've been hearing from Deuce, from like just what I guess just reading tweets, Deuce has been lighting it up. I think, and of course they're talking very highly of Jackson Arnold too. It should be a very good battle, and whether or not Deuce Knight gets his nod or not, I think it'll be great for him to develop into the quarterback that Hugh Freeze's offense needs him to be. I think Deuce is extremely athletic. It'd be very cool to see a left-handed quarterback. As a lefty myself, I don't throw left-handed, but I do everything else. I eat and I write left-handed. Athletically, I'm right-handed, but it'd be very cool because I don't think this happened since I think Brandon Cox. And of course, just having a quarterback named Deuce is also really cool. But I think this battle is what the season is coming down to. You talk about how last year went, and you had a quarterback who did improve from his first year to his second year in Peyton Thorne, but decisions were not made correctly. A fifth-year quarterback was not making fifth-year quarterback throws. He was making first-year quarterback throws. I think that when you talk about the 8 wins that Auburn needs to have going into 2025, it's very contingent on whether or not Auburn's quarterback play is up to par. Like I said, Jackson Arnold said he wanted to play for this scheme. He wanted to play for the RPO. It works best for what his skill set is. Jackson Arnold's a dual threat guy. He beat Alabama with his legs and legs alone. I don't even think he threw for 100 yards in that game, but he definitely rushed for about 200. So going into this offense, he's not going to be trusted to run as much, but it'll help out a lot. There's confidence there in his ability to run. And of course, Deuce Knight, not shy to run either. He's definitely probably more of a passer than Jackson Arnold is. And I mean, the running comes naturally to him because he's just that athletic. And Auburn just has 2 guys with a very high skill set. And again, if Deuce Knight is playing just as well as Jackson Arnold is in the fall and the spring, I don't think you have a wrong option there. If Deuce is out playing Jackson Arnold, I don't think you bat an eye about starting Deuce Knight. And you just feel confident in the fact that you have a guy right behind him that you can also put in there and trust to throw the ball correctly. And I mean, it's a true freshman versus a junior. I mean, worst comes to worst. I mean, what are you going to do? Jackson Arnold is the starting quarterback. I don't say that's not worst comes to worst. Sorry. If Jackson Arnold gets the starting job and Ashton Daniels comes in the summer and I mean, he plays well, all you do is you give Deuce a red shirt. You get Daniels in if it's an emergency, but I mean, Deuce Knight should be getting some snaps in year 1. You let him play those 4 games. I mean, you look ahead. I mean, you got South Alabama. You could see Deuce Knight get in early. You got Ball State. You got Mercer. You have opportunities galore. 3 out of the 4 before you have to worry about burning a red shirt. Hopefully, you don't have to. But definitely have opportunities to see Deuce Knight early, which I think the crowd's going to love it when it happens. So, yeah, quarterback battle, definitely the position battle to look out for in the spring because it is the most important when you think about what it means for Hugh Freeze's tenure for Auburn. I mean, I think that it can go either way. Again, I think it's Jackson's job to lose, but I would be a little worried if Deuce Knight is also catching fire in spring practice. I think it'd be very iffy about starting a freshman quarterback right away, but if he's the best guy for the job, you got to play him. UCF found out this past year. Florida found out this past year that sometimes your freshman guy is your best guy. I mean, Graham Mertz was a really good guy, quarterback for a couple games at Wisconsin. Came to Florida, played pretty well. DJ Lagway came through, and it's like, well, you can't really stop from putting Lagway in the game. And they found that out, and then it's Lagway's job, and he's now one of the top quarterbacks in the SEC. Looking at other guys, I mean, again, like UC, I can't remember UCF's guys off the top of my head, but he was like a true freshman. He was like a fourth string guy. They put him in. UCF started winning games. So again, sometimes the freshman is your best option, but right now, I don't know if it is for Auburn. You put a lot of emphasis on how much you wanted Jackson Arnold to be on the team this season. So again, it's Arnold's job to lose, but don't just what's the word before? Don't be complacent with your job, because Deuce is talent wise, he is going to demand reps at some point this year, and if Arnold starts looking sluggish and Daniel, if turnovers become a problem again for Jackson Arnold, if Ashton Daniels has turnover problems, I don't think that with this quarterback room, if Hugh Freeze thinks he can do it, I don't think he would stop himself from putting Deuce Knight in. Especially it'd be a turnaround for the season. So yeah, that's my top 5 most intriguing most intriguing position battles of the spring, because it's underway as we speak. Now, that being said, I'm going to go quick little break. Let's have this break, talk about some pro day stuff, talk about women's basketball for a little bit, and, of course, rounding out the show and getting us out of here. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes, looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program. Of course, available on thewarreport.com. Go to the shop. You can find both the college loop hat and the Feelin' t-shirt. Most comfortable items you can wear in your entire life. Of course, I would love it if everyone bought the merch. Everyone that watched the show bought the merch. It'd be the greatest thing ever. But of course, the best way to support the channel, to me, is by liking, by subscribing, and by commenting. Let me know, what is your most intriguing quarterback, or I keep saying quarterback battle. What is your most intriguing position battle going into this year, and who do you want to see win those jobs? Do you want to see Deuce? Do you want to see Jackson Arnold? Let me know in the comment section below, and of course, don't forget to subscribe while you're typing. So, with that, the pro day yesterday for the Auburn Tigers, a chance for former Tigers who did not get invited to the combine, opportunities to show out in front of some scouts. Of course, Eugene and I think Robert Lewis, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Jarquez Hunter, and Jalen McLeod were all invited to the NFL Combine. They didn't really, I don't think they did any workouts outside of the skills. Jalen McLeod did not run. He did not, and Keandre Lambert-Smith didn't need to run. He had a very great 40 during the Combine. Jarquez Hunter didn't need to run either, and definitely Eugene Asante did not run at all. Of course, those are the guys that you're hearing a lot, because I think those guys that, if you had to have betting favorites, those would be the guys you probably bet on to get drafted out of Auburn. I think Eugene and Jarquez are the definites out of that, which is dumb, because I think Keandre Lambert-Smith is going to be one of your underrated guys. I mean, if he goes undrafted, I'm looking at a Jalen Coker level wide receiver right there. And that's I'm a Panthers fan, so I understand Jalen Coker was an undrafted guy to Holy Cross, and holy crap, he was really good for the Panthers this past season. So Keandre Lambert-Smith, definitely a guy who could be the next Jalen Coker if he goes undrafted. Same thing with Jalen McLeod. I think he could shine if given the right opportunities. So guys who showed up, you had Philip Bleedy, who had a 4.94 40 38-inch vertical. had a broad jump of 10 feet and, benched 30 reps. I'm bleeding again. A guy who I thought was going to get an invite to the combine. I think his athleticism and defensive tackle alone kind of like earns that. You also Oscar Chapman, which I don't think a punter is going to get drafted. No offense to Oscar. I definitely had a tough end of the year last season. It's Luke Deal, 5'1", 40-yard dash, but Luke Deal is more of a blocking guy. But Valdo, another guy I thought was going to get an invite to the combine, 4'7" for Valdo, and that's a big dude running that. So shout out to Rivaldo. I think someone I think could get drafted or could take an opportunity of being an undrafted free agent is Rivaldo. I haven't seen any guys putting him in anywhere in the seven rounds. Tyler Fromm ran a 4.75, which shocked me, especially because Tyler Fromm did not play for Auburn last year. I do believe he was on Georgia Southern. Not mistaken. Did he? He was not on the Tigers last year, for a fact. Georgia Southern University. Did he play last year? Started all 13 games. Here we go. Caught 25 passes, 249 yards, and then did not play for Auburn last year, but played for Georgia Southern, but was a part of the Auburn Pro Day. I guess for an opportunity to get seen more. Fanaje Gote was also there, 4.80. Did not have a lot of production with Auburn. Had a lot more with Maryland, but an opportunity for him. Jason Jones, a 5'3", 240, but I mean that is a 6'5", 325 dude running. So I can't be mad about it because I can't run a 40-yard dash in probably under 7 seconds. It'd be rough. So Jason Jones, Darquez Hunter again didn't need to really showcase his speed or his strength. You pretty much can see that from him. Did take a chance at the vert and the broad jump, 33.5 inches and a 10-foot broad jump. Of course, we already know Jarquez can jump. He has been hurdling people since he came to Auburn. Austin Keys ran a 4.63 40, 36.5-inch vert, broad jump 10 feet, and bench 21. Keandre Leonard Smith didn't really need to prove his speed. He just took a opportunity the other. Exercises. There we go. Vertical jump 34, broad jump 10.7, benched 11. Of course, again, I think Keandre is going to be a very underrated prospect going into this draft. Robert Lewis, 4.46, 40-yard dash, 11 reps on the bench press, 32-inch vert, and a 9 broad jump. Dorian Mausi ran a 4.68. I'm just going to go to the 40-yard dash from now on. Isaiah Riggs ran a 5.1. Wesley Steiner, again, I don't know why he was here. He definitely transferred. Ran a 4.39 40. Which, props to him for running that 4.39 40, but he was very not good for the Tigers when he was here. Went to Washington State this past season, which I think Washington State would be a team that would have some pro day nods. I don't know why he'd come to Auburn to do that, but regardless, great 40-yard dash. I just don't. Wesley Steiner will not be playing in the NFL. It will not be happening. Jaron Thompson ran a 4.68. And then, of course, lastly on this list is Peyton Thorne running a 4.70. Now, again, I think Eugene Asante and Jarquez are probably going to be your best bets to get drafted. Keandre Leonard Smith should be on that list, but I just don't know if he is with the loaded wide receiver room, wide receiver class. Definitely getting undervalued in every sense of the word. And of course, Jalen McLeod as well. He dealt with some injuries, so that might be keeping him off the list for a little bit. But I definitely think once he gets healthy, he'll be a guy you'll see on a roster. Very much so. Of course, on this list, I mean, Valdo would be the only one that was not invited to the combine. I could see staying on a roster. I mean, Philip Bleedy as well. But the rest of the guys, I mean, I don't know. Austin Keys, maybe. Dorian Mausi, I'm not sure. Be interesting to see where these guys end up. If you want to continue your football career, I mean, the UFL's there to get opportunities playing, and just in case you don't make a roster, because I mean they're very picky about that. But regardless, I think that pro day was a success. I think it works out well for Auburn going forward. Of course, rounding out the show, of course, Auburn baseball is going to be taking on South Alabama today at 6 o'clock p.m. CST in beautiful River Rock Stadium, home of the Montgomery Biscuits and Big Mo, the skinny Big Mo, not the fat Big Mo, not the fun Big Mo. Let me say it that way. I'm big on mascot etiquette. I'm not a fan of Big Mo being put on Ozempic. Not my favorite thing in the world. Auburn softball will be back in action on March 26th at 6 p.m. taking on the Troy Trojans, looking to get back. Currently on a 3-game losing streak after going 0-3 versus number 2 Texas. Still believe what the Malvos are going to build for Auburn softball. A lot of bright spots to look at going. On this team right now. And I see to wait and see how they develop going forward. And last but not least on my list of things to talk about today, or correction, I got 2 things left to talk about. Auburn women's basketball, of course, we talked about on the Sunday show, Larry Vickers was hired by Auburn, and his press conference was yesterday, and honestly, dude killed the press conference. I am all in on Coach Vickers. I think he is going to, I guess, I don't want to say turn the program around because I think Coach Jay was in the process of doing that, but things happen. But I think Larry Vickers, coach, is going to be able to do that as well. I think he has a great mindset for what he's wanting to do. He wants to shift Auburn and to build into being a new type of basketball team. And of course, you got to get on the recruiting trail right away. He said he would be doing that because Auburn did lose a lot of players in the portal, a lot of talent that you kind of need. You kind of need it going into next year, regardless. So yeah, I got to turn this to an SEC roster somehow, because right now it is not. So, killed that press conference. Absolutely awesome press conference. If you do not see it, I do know the War Report posted it. I watched it. I think an hour ago, and I was blown away by how good of a press conference it was. Definitely, I'm all in on Coach Vickers next season. So with that being said, one more thing to talk about. Auburn Gymnastics, of course, had their selection on Monday to see where they would be at in terms of regionals. So I'm trying to figure out if they posted it. Where they did not post it. They were a 15 seed and they're going to Seattle. I'm trying to figure out if they had who they're playing against put up, but all I saw was they were a 15 seed. So bear with me for 2 seconds. Gymnastics. I can't spell. I spelled gymnastics way wrong. There's the bracket and I clicked the wrong link. Okay, so Alabama Regional, Auburn. If you're watching the actual video, you probably just saw me jump out of my chair. That's because a video started playing on full blast. Okay, Auburn will be going to the University of Washington, where they'll be hosting the Washington Regional. They'll be taking on teams such as Arizona, Arizona State, Georgia, Illinois, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and UC Davis. It's going to be that's a tough region right there, especially with Oklahoma and there. Of course, Auburn has beaten Georgia already this year, tied with them in SEC championships, lost to Missouri, and I think that's the only really team Auburn has competed against this year. I think was Nebraska on our schedule? If I'm blanking on that. Yeah, Auburn did beat Nebraska. So you got opportunities to move on, but you got to straighten things out. We can't have any more 48s. Cannot happen anymore. But the squad is very good, very talented. You just can't have things fall apart in key parts of the meet. But yeah, super stoked about that. Of course, next show, we're talking about how Auburn fared on the softball diamond and the baseball diamond versus their opponents this week, as well as previewing Auburn's Sweet 16 matchup versus the Michigan Wolverines. Have a full breakdown of that on the Thursday show as they take on Michigan on Friday. And man, there's some people that are for it. I am just not. The fact that this game will be played at 8:40 p.m. CST, especially with being in Atlanta. That's just ridiculous. That game's going to be that late at night. But regardless, I mean, I think tickets are like $500. If you're going to the game, scream loud for me, please, because I will not be in attendance for that game. If I'm going to drop money, I'm dropping money on a Final Four game, or I'm dropping money on national championship. That's where I stand. But GG's to everybody there. Right now I'm pretty confident, but also I'm a little worried. Trey Donaldson does scare me a little bit now that he's not an Auburn Tiger. But I think Auburn matches up better against Michigan than they did if Texas A&M would have won. So I do think he got the better choice out of those two. So yeah, with that, that's going to do it for some of the College Loop podcast. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave your thoughts. What is your biggest position battle for Auburn football as spring practice gets underway? Of course, who do you think is going to win that position battle as well? And again, like and subscribe as well. Can't overstate that enough. Check us out on all social media platforms: Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works. Also, The College Loop. And of course, don't forget to check out the audio versions of the show as well on Spotify, Podcast, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And of course, with all that being said, I'm Dylan Larck on Twitter at Dylan Larck, on Instagram at DYLNLARCK. And with all that being said, thanks for watching some of the College Loop podcast yet again. And as always, War Eagle.